Hi, in this video we're going through completing the Headhunter VIP mission in GTA 5 Online for a quick, easy, solo and noob friendly 40 grand. Hi and welcome back, my name's Dan and I'm an old grumpy gamer. Grand Theft Auto is a truly massive game. Between GTA 5 and the constant updates from Rockstar for GTA Online, there's no shortage of new content and interesting things to do. Join me then as we look at completing the Headhunter VIP mission in GTA 5 Online. Before we dive in, if you're new to the channel, we do how-to guides, news and giveaways, so consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay up to date. So this is a fantastic little free mode mission that you can do whenever you have 5 minutes spare and is a great way to net a quick 40 grand or so completely solo. This works in a standard online free mode session or in an invite only lobby. Sadly, you can't do this one in a solo or crew session though. Before you get started on this one, I highly recommend you have a motorcycle, a compact grenade launcher, an SMG or an assault rifle, or a weaponized VTOL or STOL aircraft and a heavy automatic, maybe. Right, so first things first, if you do not own a CEO's office, you'll need to make sure you have 50,000 in the bank. You can do this by pressing Z on your keyboard or down on the D-pad on your Xbox or PlayStation. Next, you're going to need transport, either a weaponized VTOL or STOL aircraft like the Oppressor, the Luxo or an armed chopper, or a motorcycle, and the Batty 801 for 15 grand would be my recommendation here. Now, we want to start this mission in the main city, so make sure you're in the southern part of the map. If you do start this in Blaine County or similar, your targets will be too spread out and much harder to get at. The next thing we want to do is register as a VIP of some description. So head to your interaction menu, that's M on your keyboard or double squares on your Xbox controller or swipe on your PlayStation. Down to Securo Serve, then either register as a VIP or register as a CEO and enter an organization name if you're prompted to. You'll see a quick notification along with the rest of the lobby. Assuming you're good to go, head back to the interaction menu, then go to the first option, which will be Securo Serve VIP or Securo Serve CEO, then VIP work and Headhunter. Once you get the notification about the mission starting, you'll note 4 new red markers on the map, and they're our targets. Now, there are a few different approaches we can take from here, depending on your rank, vehicle access, and your loadout. First, we're going to take a look at the complete noob method with practically no weapons and no transport. Next, we'll take a look at the armed Oppressor Mark II approach, which incidentally is the same one we'll use for the Deluxo, and finally, the armed chopper approach. So starting with the noob method, which requires a motorcycle and a compact grenade launcher. Now, if you don't have these already, you can get a compact grenade launcher at Ammunition for 45,000 and the Batty 801 or the 801RR for $15,000 from Southern San Andreas Supersports. And once you own them, you own them. So you'll only have to outlay for them once. Right, so looking at the map, you may see a mix of moving and stationary targets. So let's start with the moving targets first. And what we want to do here is try to predict where they're going to be when we get there. So accounting for travel time, let's aim for roughly here. And when we get close, we'll see the red marker floating above the target. Now, what you want to do is hang back for a bit until they've stopped at a traffic light or are caught in some kind of traffic chaos. Again, hanging back a bit, try to line yourself up with a plum shot and fire away. We want to hit them with 2 rounds, which will make them pile out of the car. And with any luck, you'll hit them first go. If not, you'll need to pursue them until you can get another shot in, or move to the next target and come back once they've calmed down a little. Once they're out of the car, the bodyguards will stand fast and the target will run. So head out of range or behind cover, wait for a few seconds until you can see the marker moving off, and that's our new target. Once they're isolated, they are easy to pick off, either with another grenade or just a sidearm. Next up, let's take a look at the stationary targets. For each round, we'll end up with 2 static targets from a possible 10, and they're normally holed up in a semi-defensible position with between 2 and 4 bodyguards. Honestly, the only way at this is to fight your way through. The good news is, once you've located one of these static targets, they won't go far, so at least you won't have to chase them all over the map. The only real tip I can offer here is scope out the area first, stay under cover, and use cover shooting as much as practical. Don't worry about refilling the body armor too much either. There's no real penalty for getting murked, and you'll respawn pretty close, so don't waste your money. Next up, let's take take a look at the missile armed oppressor method. This is also the same for the Deluxo if you have one too. Our main restriction here is the number of missiles you have. You absolutely need to conserve ammo, which means lining up shots and making sure you have a hard lock before firing. So for the mobile targets, this is pretty straightforward. Once you get reasonably close, position yourself well behind them and wait for a traffic light or some form of stop. Once you've had a solid shot, loose 2 missiles. If you get a draw where the target doesn't stop, then observe their pattern for a few moments and fire when they're just about to slow down for a corner, and that'll give you the best possible shot. Again, after 2 missiles, they'll pile out of the car. The bodyguards will stand fast and the target will run. So just head out of range for a few moments or behind some cover, wait for a few seconds until you can see the marker moving off, and that's your new target. Once your target is isolated, grab a target lock and loose a single missile to take them out. So now for the stationary targets. For the most part, you'll be able to get a solid line on the targets pretty easily. It's just a case of running a wide circle around the target until you get a missile lock. Once you've got a lock, you're more or less good to go, as the target won't move too far from their original position. There are a couple of notable exceptions though. The first is the Gentry Manor Hotel at the north of the city. This one has hedges all around the compound, which can make it hard to get a bead on the target. For this one, I recommend getting a solid bit of altitude and distance. The target's in the southeastern corner of the compound behind a palm tree, so getting a missile lock can be a bit of a pain. Once you have the lock though, you're more or less good to go. The next exception is the West Vinewood parking garage. There's only really one place you can get a lock on with this guy, and that's a small opening in the south side of the structure near where the target is camped. To hit this one, make your way south of the car park to near the high rise, spin around and wait for a missile lock. And once you have it, a single missile will do the job. The final approach we're going to cover is using a missile armed helicopter. So that would be typically an Akula, a Buzzard or a Sparrow. Now, if you already own one of these, you can just call it in. But if you don't own an armed chopper and you're rank 42 or higher, then you can often find a Buzzard at the Sandy Shores airfield on the northern side of the Grand Sonora Desert. When you drive up, if there's no Buzzard, just drive about halfway down the runway and back again, and this triggers the chopper to respawn. Just keep doing this until you get a Buzzard. And don't forget to head south before starting the mission, so you'll get the grouped targets in the city. Now, the strat we'll be using it for this one is more or less the same as with the Oppressor or the Deluxo. The only difference is we don't have to conserve ammo. So once you have a missile lock, loose at least 2 missiles, 4 if it's practical. And don't forget that helis are significantly more fragile than a Deluxo and a much larger target than a Mark II Oppressor. So you really do need to keep an eye on how much fire you're taking. After you've sorted all of the targets, you'll be credited with somewhere around 40 grand, as will any bodyguards you've employed. Then after a short cooldown, you can do it again. Right, so before we go, some quick pro tips. If you're using missiles on a static target, once you have a lock, you can increase the angle of attack for your missiles by tilting your vehicle back when you fire. This keeps the missile lock on while dramatically improving the chances your homing missile will avoid any obstacles like hedges or fencing. And finally, you can switch between missile locked targets using 7 and 9 on your keyboard's number pad or the left and right bumper on your PlayStation or Xbox controller. This will help you conserve ammo where that's an issue, and will also give you a chance to assassinate a target without alerting their bodyguards. This is also really handy when you don't want to waste ammo on cops. And that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Check out the video up the top for another VIP guide, or the one down the bottom for some old Grumpy Gamer goodness. Stay safe, wash your hands, and we'll see you in the next video.